fly the jet, put the jet where you want it to be, 150 minimum, 3 greens, down flat I have. Look at my runway heading, it's not good, is it? It's greater than 30 degrees, I better sort that out. That wind, look at the tailwind, that is a nightmare for me.
Visual Fox 2. Visual Fox 2, kill. Ninja, out, 090.
Okay guys, welcome back. Tim Davies, Fast Jet Performance. So before we get into the main briefing, could I please ask that you subscribe, hit that notification bell, and maybe leave a comment down below at some point about what you liked about the video or what you didn't like about the video so that I can give you the content that you really want. Okay, I'm about to jump into a brief with you now. It's for about 10 minutes, but if you don't want to be doing that brief and learning about aborts and engine failures after takeoff, then get to the description, and in that description you'll see timestamps for all of the PFLs that we do fly and the emergencies we do fly. You can jump straight into the cockpit by clicking one of those links. Let's get into the brief, shall we? I'm in a window, I'm in a window, I'm in a window. Over here, we can see all the activities that we're going to talk about. Initially, we've got 4 things that we need to concern ourselves with, guys. I'm going to jump over it, 2 minutes for each maximum, and then we'll talk about the 6 of the events that we're going to fly beneath. Okay, the first thing we've got to consider then is an abort brief. This is about planning ahead. And as you walk out to the airplane, what you need to be doing is looking up in the sky and thinking, what is the cloud base today? You've had a MET brief this morning. Is it raining? Is the runway wet? Is my takeoff roll, or if I do land off this or abort, going to be lengthened by that? Am I more likely or not to go into a barrier today? What's the bird activity like on the airfield? You would have heard in the morning, maybe you walk to work, you can see some birds. A low cloud base, birds do not fly IMC. They do not have an instrument rating, therefore they are daytime VFR pilots only. That means they're not going to be in the clouds, they're going to be compressed beneath them. What you may find is if it's a low cloud base, they're going to be flying in the same layer as you are. Chance of you collecting a bird on takeoff, pretty high. Also, you need to move your hands around the cockpit and touch the bits that you're going to have to move, all the switches you need to operate if you have to abort. There's no point looking around the cockpit trying to find those switches when you're doing 140 knots and it's wet and the wind is in your face and everything's going wrong. You need to know where your flaps are. You need to know where the buttons you need to press are. You've got to think about that barrier engagement before it happens. There's a big barrier across the runway for Hawks. It's a big net and it catches aircraft. You can go into that barrier at about 110 knots for the barrier before it starts getting torn apart. But it's all done by the amount that it can actually get pulled out. So on some runways, the main runway we're using today at RAF Valley, which is runway 13, I know it says 14, forget about it. The barrier will go out, you can enter 110 knots and it stretches out quite far. But on the reciprocal, which you'll see later on in this video, it doesn't go out very far before it hits a main road and there's a fence there as well. So you go into that barrier at about 65 knots. You need to think about these figures and I'm going to talk you through that in the cockpit. There's a 300-foot contract as well. As you come back on an engine failure after takeoff, at 300 feet, there are some things that you're going to have to go through. Now, you don't have to verbalize these things, but you need to do them because if you don't, you're going to die. You're going to hit that runway and something's going to be forgotten. Now, you need to have your gear down and locked. Your undercarriage must be down and you must have 3 greens as you pass through 300 feet. Your flaps must be selected. They must be traveling. You've got to see them traveling in order to pass through 300 feet. You've got to be within 30 degrees of the runway heading as you pass through 300 feet. Less than 45 degrees angle of bank as you pass through 300 feet. And you have to have clearance from air traffic to continue your approach as you pass through 300 feet. Okay, the AirX then, it's pretty cool. 6 events. We actually do one of these events twice because we do go into Mona on runway 04 coming off runway 14 at RAF Valley, okay? So the first one then is low speed, less than 90 knots. Don't panic with this one. Just pull the throttle back, let the jet roll. You don't really need to use the brakes on a long runway. She weighs 5.5 tons. She's going to stop anyway. The next one then is an abort above 90 knots. Now you need to action your abort drill, get those flaps traveling and get that stick back as well. Serial 3, probably the most dangerous one that we actually do have. You're airborne at this point, but your gear is down. You haven't actually selected up, and a lot of pilots, as they get airborne, will get that gear up quickly to make sure that they've only got one of these things to decide on. Because once you travel that gear and you're less than 250 knots, you are in an ejection situation because you cannot turn that aircraft. So you've simplified your decision-making process. If you are airborne, but the gear is still down and you haven't traveled it yet, and you get an engine failure or an engine snag or vibrations or anything else, you're landing back onto a runway. That is incredibly difficult to do. Okay, you've got to be careful here. If you throw that stick forward, that jet's going to sink quickly and it's going to impact that runway. Could collapse the undercarriage, could roll. You're in a bad place. You're now looking at either an ejection or landing back on. If you land back on, you're probably going in the barrier and you're going in there at high speed. If that was a fire caption you had, you're getting out of that airplane because you do not want to burn to death. You have not been approved for that activity. Serial 4 then, as we just said for Serial 3, Serial 4, your gear's up less than 250 knots. You're just getting out of the airplane. If you've got more than 180 knots, then glide at 180 knots and attempt to relight. We'll have a look at this up there now. Serial 5, this is what they pay you the big money for. Caution, they do not pay the big money. So now we're looking at engine failure after takeoff above 250 knots. And we're going to come right now for runway 01 at RAF Valley. Aviate, navigate, communicate. Do not talk to air traffic until you've squared yourself away. Serial 6. PFL. This is a turnback, something that we don't really practice at Valley because it does kill a lot of people, okay? But it's above 300 knots. It counts as a PFL, not as an engine failure after takeoff. You can turn around, you can look at the reciprocal runway, but you're going to carry a tailwind in with you. That is badness. Tailwinds and jets do not go together, okay? You do not want this. If you have 20 knots on the tail, you're going to increase your landing run by about 50%. If the runway's wet, you're going to increase it by a further 85%. And if you have any kind of crosswind, that's going to add 15% to your landing roll. So turning back to that runway is a bad thing to do. And the pictures you see out of the cockpit are going to look wrong because you would never really have practiced this for real. Now, the Red Arrows do. They're on single runway ops all the time. So that's a great thing for them. They're masters at this. But in flying training, you're not going to be doing it, okay? Especially as an instructor, you're going to be going for another runway. Maybe another runway at another airfield, but probably another runway at your own airfield. I'm going to demonstrate that to you. All right, guys, look, enough of this brief. Let's get up at it. Okay, and welcome then to the cockpit, guys. Hawk T1 sat on the pan of 4 Squadron. I've mapped out some views. So what we're doing today is we're using these views. Okay, I've got an up one, I've got one to there as well, because I have to fly a practice force landing in this. And I want to show you like this view because the stick is going to be used quite a lot. Obviously, and there's an issue when we pull the stick back as we're about to eject because it's really hard sometimes to grab the handle. And then we've got this view as well, which is a nice forward view, and then this one here just to show the services, so we can see the gear, the undercarriage that is. We can see that we've got mid flap selected. We can also see some pressure gauges down there, and if the parking brake was on, those top 2 pressure gauges, those ones would be up around 100 bar each, and the 3 beneath it are all around about 200 bar. And when I say 3 for 2, 2 below 10 for my checks before I land, I'm saying those 3 are there, which is the brake supply, the hide 1, hide 2 are all for 200, and then 2 below 10 are the port and starboard foot brakes, okay, which go like this when you put them on, and the parking brake would trap that pressure. All right, and I'll take it off now and put the parking brake on. Parking brake should be on and go back to that screen. Okay, so what we're going to try and do is all the real radio calls, but we are really going to concentrate on the 6 aborts that we're going to go through, okay? As I said, there's a variety. Before each one then, I'm going to tell you what's going on and why. And for the first time, we'll go through a full takeoff emergencies brief. And then the rest of them, I'm going to say brief SOP with any added clarification. Standard operating procedure, SOP, or as briefed, with then any extra bits we're going to go on. Just so you know, guys, RAF Valley here. I was a flying instructor in this building. There's my office. Okay, these don't exist at Valley at the moment. There's the big Hawk T2 hangar. Boss's office there, my office there, and then this is the planning room we use here. Engineers live down here, okay, and the building's quite big. This is 4 Squadron and 25 Squadron RAF Valley. So we're on the pan now. What we're going to do, here's you're looking east out towards Snowdonia, okay, then the Clyn Peninsula, down the south, this is Anglesey, North Wales in the United Kingdom. Over here, my buddy lived over here with his helicopter unit, and then over here is SARTU, Search and Rescue Training Unit over there. Okay, so we're going to taxi out this way, all the way along here, past the air traffic control tower, onto runway 13 at RAF Valley. I have set the wind today to be in the face at 15 knots. We're going to talk this through, guys. Don't worry about this. Right, getting off the pan then, all we do is we flash the landing light at the liney, the guy in front of us, and turn it off again. We have all the anti-coals there's just a top red on at the moment, that's all. He then waves back, or she waves back, and then we taxi. And the way we taxi off here, guys, is we take the parking brake off, we allow the aircraft to roll forwards. If it doesn't start rolling because we're heavy, we can use up to 70% RPM here. We're actually at 70 for real, we'll be around about 55. It's just the way this jet's modelled. And then we put the parking brakes on again, just to check that the brakes work. We steer this aircraft with the brakes, okay? With the brakes. Let me just see whether I can give you a picture of this. Trains racing over there on the left. That's the excitement of the railway network. Yep, towards the control tower then, which you can see over there on the left hand side by the fire truck, and on towards the runway. So we're going to cross the short runway, taxi here, cross runway 01 that we are going to use today, and line up on runway 13. Okay, so you flash the taxi light then, let's go forwards, bit of power, park and brake off, test the brakes, brakes work, good lookout, aircraft's coming left. And of course the radio call here would be on stud 1, valley ground, Victor Yankee Tango 61, taxi with Charlie. Victor 61, taxi runway 13, QFE 1012, taxi 13, 1012. Check no one's coming there, check this way. Oh, this is a nightmare on keys, guys. You maybe do this. Bring back VR, I say, bring back VR. Might get one of those tracker devices. But at the moment, we've got what we've got. Now, in jet school, we can do the checks on the roll. All the checks we do are from memory, guys, okay? There's a few that aren't. So some emergencies are bold-face, but all the checks in fast jets are done from memory, unless the emergency is really complicated. I'm going to get across the runway before I actually do them. Victor 61 requests cross the short. Victor 61 cross the short for a 13. Victor 61. Right, guys, I've asked to cross a short runway, which is here. Just going to break down a little bit. You need to still look, guys. I need to still look. There could be anything. Path is clear there. Clear there, looks like. So now I can go. So I'm not doing my checks yet until I've actually got across the runway. Keep looking, because some idiot's going to land on you. I guarantee it. Yes, looks like, yeah, there's an airplane there, you see? Right. And then we can start doing the checks. Now, I would do them on the taxi like this, but as you can see in the sim, actually taxiing is really hard because using the brakes. So, because it doesn't use nose wheel steering, the T1, unlike the T2, which does use nose wheel steering. So I'm kind of struggling just to actually taxi this, which doesn't bode well for our mission today, does it? You can see the caravan is over there. Where is it? No, caravan's over there. So that's kind of indication that you have taxied for the right runway, which is always a bonus. Break all the energy off, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to park up at the hold. I'm going to get the checks done. Nothing wrong with doing it this way. This is an educational sortie, guys, not instructional. Please don't go, if you're in basic flying training or anything, say Tim said. Tim didn't say anything, okay? Tim said you're an idiot for listening to him. This is for fun, education. Right, there's the whole point. So you just canter the jet off like this, and then turn it, and we do this, park here, because that means that anyone, park it up, Davies, parking brake on, and then you would look down and you'd check the parking brake pressures were up at 100 bar. They're not, of course, because it doesn't model it in this. Reason, that's why. Come on, parking brake. I've got a parking brake modelled on this, but it doesn't seem to work. That's going to be absolutely useless for me. I just literally can't stop the jet. This is an absolute brake failure. Right, hold that. That was the weirdest thing. Anyway, we have now parked. Look. Okay, weird, strange brake failure thing there. Anyway, so we're probably on the line, happy. We're going to go anyway, guys, because as I said, it's an educational sortie. So now we need to do our pre-takeoffs and a takeoff emergencies brief. Always be aware that something could be coming down there, so keep looking out, okay? There's the runway we're going to get airborne on. There's the caravan, so we know we're on the correct runway today. Right. So the takeoff emergencies brief that we're going to use is the full brief. So what we do is we do our pre-takeoffs first, guys. So we're going to be saying for the pre-takeoffs, 0, neutral, neutral. That's 0, okay, on that thing. If you are heavy, 2 big guys in the cockpit, you could put 1 degree nose up trim on there. Or if you have any missiles on the wings, you'd also put 1 degree. But for today, 0, neutral, neutral on the trim. Pitot goes on. Anti-skid goes on. Then we say fuel would be around about 1300. Don't know why it's only 800 today, but we're going to take it anyway. Flap is at mid, which is great. Seat is live, and then lights can go red, white, white. Sorry, white, white. Both lights, white, white. Right, there we go. White, white. Land taxi light will come on as we taxi onto the runway. Now, you say, right, this is the takeoff emergencies brief. You always describe what you have. I have a long, dry runway with a barrier, and I've got a secondary that I can do a forced landing onto, which today is going to be runway 01. It's the shortest way around for me. The wind is 135, 15 knots. Okay, it's in the face. So if I do turn for that secondary, I'm probably going to get blown in. So I'm going to set my heading bug here. Set the main one, don't we? We set the main one for the runway we're using, guys, which I have, 135, roughly 135. I don't want to finesse this, but I am a QFI, so I have to. Well, I was. And this one then I'm going to set for the runway I'm going for. So for the turn, I'm going to come right onto about 190, which is the reciprocal of the runway to land on, which is 01 at RAF Ballot. It's a short runway, about 5.3. I'll also brief myself on the barrier speed. It's about 50 knots. I haven't got any headwind at all, so I can go into that 60 knots with 1,000 feet to go. 60 knots here, if I go onto the short with 1,000 feet to go, I can enter that barrier because it's got a very short pull-out. But I've got a 15 knot headwind coming in this way today, haven't I? So what I'm going to do, coming in from the nose, I'm going to take that bug, I'm going to give myself some space, about 180. If I do have an engine failure, I'm going to turn right onto that, assess the runway. If it's good, I'll carry that turn on. If not, I'm probably looking at an ejection, okay? 1012, 1012. For those two, we'll check those before you go on the runway anyway. So I've set that up then for my worst case, which is a engine failure after takeoff. So up to 90 knots then, which is here, and I always identify it. Up to 90 knots, it looks like this. So I look down at that instrument, and I go and find what 90 knots really looks like. Okay, and I really stare at it. Up to 90 knots, I'm going to abort for any emergency at all. Okay, that's anything, birds, anything lights up on this panel here. Okay, I'm aborting. I'm staying on the runway. Okay, why not? Because flying's hazardous. I don't need that in my life. So up to 90 knots, I abort for any emergency at all. From 90 though, to when I travel my gear up, so when I select that, I push that button in, I will abort for a major emergency. And this includes, guys, a top line red hide, oil, surge, major loss of power, or loss of control if I'm still on the ground. Now, I'll also at this point look out, guys. I haven't got any cloud base. If I had a cloud base today below about 700 feet, then I can't do a circuit. The lowest I can do a circuit is 500 feet. So if I got airborne and I had all my instruments fail on me because I had a generator failure, okay, I'd have flags appear on the majority of these. I still have that, I still have that, I still have that, I'd still have that. But my main performance instruments here, I wouldn't have. Gen would be lit, AC123 would be lit, okay, and I would enter something called a world of pain, okay? The French say le monde de pain, a world of bread. They don't, I made it up. Look, but I don't want to be getting airborne with a generator caption and no instrumentation, or very limited instrumentation. So I would say, if I had a cloud base today, say about 700 or below, I'd say I'd also abort for a generator caption, okay? Today though, I'll take a gen airborne. I'll take a generator caption airborne. But from gear traveling up to 250 knots, that looks like this. Identify it. So it's about the 7 o'clock, isn't it? About 7 o'clock on here. Up to 250 knots then. If I have a major loss of thrust, I'm just going to position to eject. If I'm above 180 knots, I can glide, and I can attempt to relight by pressing that button there to see if I can get the GTS back on board, the gas turbine starter, and then seeing if I can use here the engine start just to see whether I can. But I will, with the surge, have to cut fuel off. I am going to fail the engine totally today, and I've got a key mapped for that. All right, so we will get the engine to wind down. And you'll see that we do get some residual RPM here because it will be windmilling, okay? So we'll probably have about 10% or something windmilling. If it's 0 and it's surged, then that's not ideal, okay? Because it will add a lot of drag to the aircraft. Right, so what I will do though is I'll say also if above 250 knots then I'm going to come right for, 250 to 300 I'll come right for runway 01. Which means I'll turn onto the reciprocal here, which is about 190, 180 we bugged, and I'll try and land on runway 01. We're going to do that in one of the latest serials, okay? Above 300 knots though, I have the option to turn for any runway, which could be runway 04 at Mona with a barrier speed of 50 knots there also, or I can turn back to the airfield here, and we're going to do both those evolutions. I'll go into Mona, which is quite rushed, but we'll also turn back here with a 15 knot tailwind, guys, because remember what I said in the brief, and I'll reiterate it now, with a 15 knot tailwind, my landing roll is about 45 to 50% more than it would be originally. That's with a 20 knot tailwind, and if the runway was wet, then it's going to be 85% more. Okay, that's huge, like twice as what it would be. So I'm probably going to end up in the barrier this end, except I'm not, because the barrier that goes across the runway here, the big net, is isolated on approach. So what that means, if I do turn back to the reciprocal, or the runway I get airborne on, I can't even go into it because it can't be activated. It's isolated, which stops it coming up when people are trying to land. Okay, complicated stuff, guys, but this is phase 4 fast jet military flying training. Okay, so you know, I hope you get something out of it. What can I say? Right, also, there's some other little bits you've got to add on here, guys, okay? So, if I do abort, though, my actions will be, and this I touched the things now, okay, so I know where the switches are. If I do abort, my actions will be idle / HP off if I've got any kind of fire caption from the engine. I don't want to put fuel into it. If I'm going to go into the barrier, I might go HP off as well at the last minute because I don't want to take any residual thrust into there. I will then go maximum braking on the foot brakes here. I will then travel the flap. I'll touch the flap here. I'll touch that flap and go, there's the switch I'm going to be using with my left hand, so I know it is. The flap will travel down because that adds a lot of drag to the aircraft. And below 100 knots, my stick will come fully aft. Again, if I can get you an outside view of that, because it puts the tailplane into the airflow like that. So you can imagine if I put the flaps down now, look, they will come down, stick come fully aft. I've put some aerofoil sections into the airflow. That's going to help me, okay? So there we go, put the flaps back to mid again. Check they've gone back to mid. Mid flap is selected. So that's part of the brief. The problem is though, if you are high speed and you put the flaps down, the aircraft will lift again because it's above the stall speed for down flap. So you've got to be careful that when you put the flaps down, you are below a certain speed. And I use about 100 knots for that. It should be fine. Guys, let's get airborne then. Oh, the last thing you need to do is, by the way, is say I won't take a start or fire caption into the barrier because I'll burn to death. So there's a fire caption here and start. So I identify the two captions I'm not going to take into the barrier. They're on either side of this panel. So when I glance down, I haven't got to try and read any kind of illuminated flashing thing. I just look down. And if it's a top left or a top right caption as I head towards the barrier, then it's an ejection decision, guys. I'm out, okay? Boom. All right? Get out of there, start doing the backstroke. Right, what else then? That's right, and also barrier engagement speed is the last one I talk about. So the barrier engagement speed on runway 13 today is 110 knots. Now I add to that 10 knots for 1,000 foot to go. So now I've got 120 knots at 1,000 foot to go. I also add the wind onto that as well, another 15 knots. So now I know if I've got 135 knots, if I've got more than 135 knots with 1,000 foot to go, I'm ejecting today, okay? Right, so that is quite a lengthy brief, but it's not lengthy if you don't have to explain it. Okay guys, let's line up, get serial 1 done then. So remember, we've talked about abort brief, talked about abort drills, talked about barrier engagement. We are going to cover 300 foot contract in serial 456. This is serial 1, low speed, less than 90 knots. Ground, Victor 6-1 for tower. Victor 6-1, start 2. Always check approach before you make the radio call. Valley Tower, Victor 6-1, ready for departure. Victor 6-1, Valley Tower, cleared takeoff, wind 135, 15 knots. Takeoff, Victor 6-1. Right, I've been cleared takeoff, okay? Now I do some slam checks, okay? I look down here, make sure I've got a squawk on. Set that, can't bothered. Lights, they're up at white, and I'll have my landing light comes on now as well. Altimeters, set 1012, make sure they're both set to the QFE. And then mass comes as I line up. Parking brake is off. Looking up there, making sure that approach path is clear. Good. Also, make sure the runway is clear, guys. I bet it isn't. I bet someone's going to drive into my face. Use all the runway you can. So it's much easier on VR. But look, I'm going to really nuzzle myself down here. Runway behind you is runway lost, guys. Okay? Can't use it on an abort. And I want to use everything today. I really want to use every piece of this tarmacaddon. That was very expensive to be built at Valley. I think I might have a brake snag in this jet, but we'll see how it works anyway. I've lined up, brakes, holding, mass comes live, power. Now, check the caravan. You might have some guy waving at you, running out at you, anything like that, okay? We want to see these instruments go up here, and I want to see it trim back slightly on there, so I know the fuel control unit is working. Last thing I say to myself is barrier is 110, just in case I need it. Right, and my own personal checks I do, because I have to do personal checks. I say approach path is clear, mid flap I have, seat is live with clearance. Those are my little 4 I just say, okay, just so I know. Okay, and rolling. Lead with rudder, brake comes in. That's nice. Lead with rudder, brake, wind is on the nose. Okay, good speed reads. Oh, caption. Okay, 90 knots, less than 90 knots, I'm aborting. That's it, nicely rolled out. Brakes, 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 nice brakes. Victor 6-1 stopping, flaps are travelling, that's it, ease up. I'm not really using the brakes, guys, I don't need to. It's a slow speed abort, don't want to put energy into them because, you know, the caption just flicked on and off, didn't even know what it was, okay? So I might go, I don't know what that was, so that's fine then. I'm going to try again. Victor 6-1, do you need assistance? Apologies, Victor 6-1. Yeah, what I'll do is I'll just take this next exit here and I'm going to reposition back again. I just sort of had a bit of an issue in the cockpit. Victor 6-1, roger. What you do now is you get on to your operating authority and you say, guys, I just had a bird fly really close to me or something, freaked me out, I've just gone for a abort. Oh, okay, we're happy for you to line up again then. Good, I will. Okay, and what I'm going to do now is just stop the jet here and we're just going to line up the jet again. Okay, serial 2 then. So this is going to be, there's mid-flap we have. This is going to be high speed on the runway greater than 90 knots. I'm going to simulate being hit by a bird. Okay, full power then. Lead rudder. So we're going to simulate a bird strike about 110 knots. Lead rudder, bit of brake if you need it. Okay, speed reads. 90 knots for nose wheel. Oh, hit by bird. Right, down. Idle, brakes. Okay, if I put the flap down now, it's going to be a problem for me. It's going to be a problem. Sticks coming back. Look at the stick. Stick's fully back. But that's what happens. Stick's fully back. Come on, stick. Now flaps travel. Down flap indicates we're stopping. Victor 6-1 stopping. Victor 6-1. Do you want any assistance? Negative. Need new brakes. Right. So we stop. That's fine. This is a bucking bronco. This airplane. Let's stop here and talk. Right, guys, it happens quite quickly, but it's pretty simple. What you do, put the jet back on the ground again, as we did. Start applying the brakes. Well, the throttle comes to idle, jet down, start the brakes. Stick can start moving aft, okay? And then, obviously, flaps will travel. But I was at like 120 knots. This jet doesn't really slow down the sim very well. If I put the flaps down at 120 knots, as you see, kind of want to start flying again. All right? Okay, let's give serial 3, shall we? Okay, then, serial 3, high speed abort. We're going to be airborne, but my undercarriage is still going to be down, okay? Still going to be down. Let's have a think, shall we? Because this is probably going to be a barrier engagement, which I can go into the barrier, okay, if I am high speed. So I'm going to get airborne. We're going to simulate a fire caption, okay? But my gear is still going to be down. Power. Let's have some flaps, shall we? Travels. Mid-flap indicates. Notice I wait for it to indicate because I could have travelled it the whole way down. Then I'm trying to get airborne with down flaps. Hugely draggy. So you just make sure it indicates. Don't just select it and look away. Okay, and rolling. Nothing from the caravan. What's up, my boy? Yeah, apart from that jet crossing the nose there. Woohoo. Right, speed reads. Nose wheel. Come on. Right. Now we're flying. Positive rate climb 1 and 2. Oh, engine failure. Oh, that is an engine failure. Oh, crikey. Just fly the jet. Fly the jet into the crash. We're looking for 135. 135. That's nice. Okay, hold it there. We're down. Brakes. We're idle. Going to come HP off probably. I will do that. Well, the engine's failed anyway. Stick coming back. Flap can travel now. Flap travel. Flaps might not travel. Either way. Brakes, brakes, brakes. Still managed to stop. I've lost brakes. So we'll be into the barrier probably. Nothing. Yeah, I'll go into the barrier. Fine. I don't have any brakes at all. Probably the engine's wound down. It's depleted. You can see the flaps have only partially travelled as well. All the hides are down. You can see we've got a full cockpit panel here. Engine failure. So everything's down. Normally you would have residual brake pressure. It's probably not modelled in this particular sim. But you can see. So that's what you do with a full engine failure. It's pretty horrible. Happens. One of the key things here though is you don't want this point to push the nose down. The jet's going down anyway. Hold the attitude, ease the nose slightly forwards. You've got to control that and fly it into the ground, okay? If you were to take any more flap at this point as well, you could well float for a really long time. That's not that great. Next evolution. Serial 4. Engine failure after takeoff, less than 250 knots. Let's dance. It's all getting a bit serious, isn't it? Right. Mid flap travels. Happy, rolling. Engine failure after takeoff, less than 250 knots. Okay, speed reads. There's nose wheel. It's actually going to get flying now, which is pretty cool. Okay, we've got a positive rate of climb on 1 and 2 now. My gear can travel, my flap can travel. Hold the attitude, 8 to 10. Gears up by 200, flaps up by 200. My panel down here is clear, we say, not that one, there, down here. Oh, down here, mouse, mayday. Okay, back to about 5 degrees. Victor 6-1 to radar. Victor 6-1. Trim 6 degrees, stud 3. Valley radar, Victor 6-1 in the climb. Victor 61, roger, climb flight level 100. Climb flight level 100, Victor 61. Ooh, that's not good, is it? Well, that's 235 knots. Let's get that nose up then. Okay, so aviate first. Let's glide at 180 knots. Let's see if I can get that relit, shall we? Let's glide. Notice I'm not even speaking to air traffic. There's no point. They can't help me, can they? Right, that'll be HP off. Relight, press that, press this. See if we can get an engine back. Nothing's happening. 180 knots for the glide, Davies. 180 knots for the glide. Okay, aim for that piece of water over there so I don't crash it on a road. Right, okay, 180 knots. That's not coming back. The engine is not coming back at all. Better speak to someone. Radar, Victor 61, I've got an engine failure. I'm unable to turn back to the field this time. Attempting relight standby. Victor 61, roger that. They now go and speak to fire trucks and to people that matter and stuff, and they ask for your last words and all that kind of stuff. They don't do that last bit, okay? Either way, attempt another relight. Move the throttle back, tempting that. Come on, Davies, get that relight going. Get the relight going. Come on, engine. What's the matter? Check the LP cot. What's that? Fuel pump on, everything. Come on, what's going on? Davies, you better sort this out, mate, because you're about to die. Right, okay, there's a piece of field over there. Radar, Victor 61, I can't get the engine back. I'm looking to eject over by Newborough Forest. Roger 61, we'll send out the rotary for you. Thank you. Right, guys, look, you've got nothing. You're going nowhere. 180 knots. Right, don't hesitate, okay? None of that shit. Positive vector. Get that nose up. You want to see that altimeter climbing. See that altimeter climbing. Come on. There you go. And you are out of there, fam. Okay? Don't mess around with jets. People die quickly in jets. Okay, guys, let's go for the next serial. Well, let's watch it crash then. Jeez. Everyone likes a bit of a crash, don't they? Oh, did it hit the road? No. Did I make the beach? No, I didn't. Oh, look at that. Bomber pilot. Okay, so we've crashed one Hawk. Let's see if we can crash another one. This is serial 5. Engine failure after takeoff greater than 250 knots, which means we've got an option for what? The alternate runway, which is runway 01. I'm now going to try and fly an engine failure after takeoff, a PFL. I'm going to shut the jet down to that particular runway. So I'm going to get rid of all the... Well, I'm going to shut the jet. Hopefully I'll still have control. It might mean a barrier engagement though. Probably will, because we try and land a third of the way down the runway. But if we try and land on the numbers and we're short, then we just crash the jet. If we try and land halfway down it, then we haven't got enough runway to stop. So I'm going to aim point is a third of the way down. When I know I can make that aim point a third of the way down, I'll take my gear. So I'm going to glide at 180 knots. I'll be above 250. I'll glide at 180 knots, okay? Immediately, I'm using that 250 to fly level turn, not go up. I want to come back towards the airfield. The wind, in this case, will help me because it's on the nose. I'm going to come right, level turn, 250 knots, roll out. Then I'm going to climb, and I'll make my speed 180, stabilize 180 knots in the descent. Look to the right, okay? That's what I want to look at. I want to see runway 01. Aviate, navigate then. Now I can communicate. Okay, and the radio call is going to be a Victor 61 coming right, runway 01, engine failure. Okay, then air traffic will try and confuse me with a whole load of stuff. I'm not even going to talk to them. Okay, I'm going to fly my jet like a hero. Okay, because I need some medals on my chest. Right, what we're going to do then, obviously, is we're going to start looking for configuring the aircraft to land and making active ejection decisions the whole way around. Here's the issue, okay, you've got to look at. By 300 feet in the descent, if you don't have certain things, you cannot continue because you are going to crash the jet and die. That 300 foot point then, the things that you need to have done in the aeroplane is worth thinking about now. So you need to have your undercarriage down and locked. It needs to look like this. That is not traveling, that is down and locked. You select it on the normal service and then you'll have to select it on this as well. That's why it's round for wheels. You push that button in and then you pull it out and it goes bang and it comes down within about a second. Also, you need your flaps to be travelling to down, which means you need to select that to down and you need to pull that emergency button out here. They're not modelled in the sim. You also need to be within 30 degrees of the runway heading and you need to be less than 45 degrees angle of bank, okay? So this bit in here, that's 45 degrees there. And the last one is you need to have clearance. So we're going to have a look at that today. Power's coming on. Just check you've got flap. So above 250 knots. We're going to go at 250 knots. This jet glides a little bit better than a Hawk, the real Hawk, okay? Feels good and rolling. Don't worry about these. So I will shut the engine off for this, okay? Hopefully it will still fly, we'll see. Speed reads, 90 knots, nose wheel, hold it, 120, flying. Positive rate of climb on 1 and 2, gear travels, flap travels, hold 8 to 10 degrees, pause, 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 gears up by 200, flaps up by 200, panel is clear, back to 6 degrees, and we're climbing. Victor 61 to radar, would have been on stud 2, now on stud 3. Valley radar, Victor 6-1 in the climb. Victor 6-1, roger. Okay, so I'm just climbing straight ahead. Now, of course, you can go left to Mona here, depending on whether the wind is favourable, but you've got a lot of traffic to deal with, all sorts of stuff. Approaching 250 knots then. There we go. Ooh, engine failure. What? What's going on? Confusing time. Do what Tim says. Aviate first. Get round onto that bug. Don't speak to anyone. Right, onto the bug. Let's have a look at it, shall we? Let's have a look. Yeah, I reckon I've got a chance at this. Keep that turn coming then. Keep it coming for 180. I'm navigating now. I'm navigating. Good. So now I'm keeping that turn coming. I'm going to keep having a look at it. Now I can start speaking to someone because they need to start clearing the runway for me. Back to Valley Tower. Victor 6-1, back to Valley Tower. Valley Tower, Victor 6-1. I've got an engine failure coming right for runway 01. I need the barrier, please. Victor 6-1, roger. Adopt the call sign, Mayday 6-1, and start panicking. And we're going to panic here, and we're going to throw our tail over the place. Have you got a real engine failure? Victor 6-1, A firm, attempting relight. Right, attempting a relight. Hands are flashing around the cockpit like the ninja I am. Come on, Davies. That's nice, mate. That's nice. Barrier speed for this is going to be 50 knots. It's going to need about 60 knots, about 1,000 to go. Come on, Davies. Oh, man, wish you guys would let me use VR. Gear travels below 200. In this case, I wouldn't even care whether I was above 200. I am going to make that. Flaps travel and on the standby system. Nose over. Come on. Check services. 3 greens indicating. Come on, Davies. Down flap indicating. Come on, get down, man. What's the matter with you? You run out of control authority. With gear, it'll be 165 to stay alive, 165 knots to stay alive. Man, I have to fucking refly this shit, aren't I? You run out of nose authority. Look at that. 150 should be a minimum. Looking for first stage. First stage there. Second stage there. Right, into the barrier probably, 60 knots. 130 minimum to land. High speed barrier entry probably. Right. Landing. Idle, HP off, obviously it was already. On the brakes, I've got down flaps, stickers fully aft. 60 knots with 1,000 to go, or I'm ejecting. Braking everything shaking around the place. 1,000 to go. There, 90 knots. Cleopatra coming at you. Second ejection of the day. That's 2 aircraft we've written off. They're not that expensive, don't worry. Right. Minimum speed on that approach was 150, okay, guys? So we are going to fly another PFL anyway. It's very difficult in this sim. I am making excuses because what happens, unfortunately, is you sort of run out. The CFG is not really modelled that well. I can't get that. I had full stick forward. I'm travelling down flap. And I can't get that nose down to maintain 150. So 150 when you're configured. It's 180, 165, 150 as your 3 speeds. 180 glide, 165 with the gear down, and 150 when you've got your down flap. So practice that evolution. I'll be interested to see whether you guys get it in. We are going to try another one now, though. What is it? Serial 6. PFL, Turnback to reciprocal. Well, let's go to Mona above 250 first, shall we? See if we can do that whole switchery. So power's coming up. Let's go to Mona on this one. So again, above 250 knots, we're going to come left and try and find RAF Mona. Rolling. Yeah, I'm going to check it. Yeah, mid flap you have. Leader rudder, leader rudder. That's it. Come on, stud. 2. And we fly! Positive, rate climb, 1 and 2, gear travels, flap travels, hold the attitude. 8 to 10 degrees. Gears up by 200, flaps up by 200, panel is clear, back to 6 degrees. Victor 6-1 to radar, Victor 6-1. Radar's on stud 3. Valley radar, Victor 6-1's airborne. Roger, Victor 6-1, Squawk. Can you recycle your Squawk, please? Victor 6-1, yep, stand by. Look down here, it's a really complicated panel and go, I don't know how to work that. There's a gizzer in my pocket, a gizzer that shows me, so I'm going to get my gizzer out and see whether I can work it out because I really don't know. And so whilst I'm faffing like a faffing person, not paying attention, all of a sudden, come on if I fly my attitude properly, all of a sudden I'm going to go from a bit faster here because I know what the wind's doing to me. I'm looking down here and I'm going, how now radar, anything? Oh, hang on a second, what's going on? It's engine failure, my goodness, engine failure. Right, what does Tim tell me to do? Aviate first, aviate. Aviate first. Come on, keep the jet coming around. We're looking out for Mona. Oh, there's Mona there. I'll talk to radar. Valley radar, Victor 6-1's got an engine failure, attempting relight, stand by. Roger, Victor 6-1. Victor 6-1 is looking for Mona on runway 04, please, and I will need the barrier. Roger that, Mona on 04, we'll give him a call. Roger that, thank you. And to stud 4. Stud 4, Victor 6-1. Right, emergency relights, attempting emergency relight, 180 knots, what I'm gliding at. Mona Tower, Victor 6-1 is a Mayday aircraft with an engine failure, positioning for runway 04, please clear all traffic, and I will need a barrier. Vic 61, roger that. Runway 04 is available to you. The circuit is empty this time. Gear travels from below 200 knots for me. Don't talk to them. Vic 61, do you need any more help? Vic 61, speak to us. Vic 61, speak to us, please. Tell me your hopes and dreams. 3 greens indicating. Come on, Davies. Come on, get the jet down. 150 min. Okay, that's good. Get the jet down. That's nice. 3 greens, 150 minimum. 3 greens. So as I'm approaching 300 feet, then it looks steep because it is steep, guys. So I want my contract to be less than 30 degrees, 45 degree angle of bank, and also got 3 greens down, and I do have down flap. Victor 61, final get down. Victor 61. Vic 61, clear land, Vic 61. Right, barrier speed's 50, that's 60 knots with 1,000 to go. That's the crosswind for you right there, guys. First stage, second stage of round out. I'm looking at a barrier entry, looking for 1,000 feet to go, guys. 1,000 feet to go. Get the jet down if you can. There we go. Max braking, I have the flap down, max braking, looking for 60 knots for 1,000 to go. There's the 1,000 board. That's the 3rd jet we've destroyed, is it? I lose count. Don't bother to tell air traffic you're ejecting. None of that heroic stuff. Did I get the car? Oh, I missed the car. Just get out, okay? If there's any doubt, get out. I can't go into that barrier speed at the speed I had, all right? It's not going to happen. Guys, I know it happens fast. I know I talk quickly, but for real, my cockpit would be silent, okay? But I'm trying to educate you here. So I'm having to verbalise this, and I'll get loads of people in the comments going, oh, you speak too quickly. Guys, it's a fast jet. It happens quickly. Now, serial 6 then, the last serial. Rudder. We're going to come back to this runway with a 15-knot tailwind. Very, very hard thing to fly. 90 knots. I don't practice these. Valley doesn't practice these. The Red Arrows do, because I've only got one runway. Positive climb. Gear travels, flap travels. Gears up, flaps up by 200, panel is clear. Victor 61 radar, Victor 61 going to radar. Valley radar, Victor 61 in the climb. Victor 61, right, so anything from above 300 knots, guys, it's not an engine failure after takeoff, it's a PFL, or it's an AFL, it's an actual forced landing. You're above 300 knots. A sensible thing here to do would be to go left for Mona again, but we're not going to do that because I want to show you what happens when you land on a runway, a reciprocal. It's not very pleasant, which is why we don't tend to do it. So I'm with radar still, and we get to 300 knots. And again, this jet's being very bad today, people, very bad today, and this happens. Whoa! Okay. Coming right. I'm going to try and come out the valley. That's really strange. Going into an immediate relight. So what do I do for the immediate relight? Well, I get that throttle back, cut the fuel off and put it back in again. The reason that high 2 gauge is wiggling around like a mad fish down there, guys, if you saw that, is because of the ram air turbine out. It doesn't actually wiggle that fast. I'll keep coming around, and I want 180 knots for the glide. Valley radar, I've got an engine failure, returning to valley. For the reciprocal, please. Roger 61, you declaring an alert? Shut up. Valley tower, Victor Yankee Tango 61. I've got an engine failure, returning back for the reciprocal, please. Runway 31. Victor 61. Looks like I'm going to make it, guys. Looks like I'm going to make it. Gear travels. Below 200 gear is travelling. Victor 61, do you need assistance? Can you drop the call sign? Mayday 61, and can you really confuse yourself whilst we speak to you forever, please? Don't answer them, guys. Don't fly the jet. Put the jet where you want it to be. The jet where you want it to be. 150 minimum. 150 minimum. 3 greens. Down flap I have. Look at my runway heading. It's not good, is it? It's greater than 30 degrees. I better sort that out. That wind. Look at the tailwind. That is a nightmare for me right now. 15 knots on the tail. Victor 61, final gear down. By 300 feet then, I have got 30 degrees. I need to get the angle of bank off. Angle of bank coming off now. I have got the contract sorted out. Victor 61, you're cleared to land. Can you drop the call sign, Mayday? Actually, air traffic is really good. I'm giving them a hard time. Barrier speed for me, 65 knots. But there isn't a barrier today, guys. There's no barrier because it's isolated. Remember what I said? The jet will settle about 130. There we go. Settled. Maximum braking. On the brakes. That's it. Get the stick fully aft, guys. Stick's fully aft. Where's the ejection handle? Behind the stick. I'm going to have to eject, aren't I? So, I'm going to have to eject. Centralise the stick. Eject. A little bit late. Probably go a bit earlier than that, to be honest with you guys, okay? Just a little bit earlier than that. Jet 3, Jet 4? Don't know. That's why they're so difficult to do, turning back for the reciprocal runway. Okay, guys, that's it. So thanks for watching. 6 serials we did there. Okay, looking at all the takeoff possibilities really in for the abort. So hopefully you got something out of that. Look, I do talk quickly, all right? The running joke is that people need to listen faster. You know, hey, it is what it is. This takeoff aborts happen quickly. I speak quickly because I'm a passionate guy when it comes to aviation, all right? Do apologise if you're from overseas. I will try and slow down my speech on other videos because we're not going to be doing takeoff aborts. Takeoff aborts happen quickly, all right? That's why the ejection handle is there. If you get behind the jet and you get maxed out, which means your capacity limited, i.e. you're processing not as quickly as the jet is moving, the ejection seat handle is your answer, okay? That is what it's for. Throw the jet away, we'll go and buy another one, but I can't buy another one of you, and I don't want to go and tell your parents that you're no longer with us. That's why you have the handle, guys. Guys, thanks for watching the video. Please subscribe below, hit the notification bell, and leave a comment below about whether you liked or didn't like the video. Until next time, Tim Davies, Fast Jet Performance.